Hello there, my Googly Gang, Gary the Gremlin here, but I can't deal with that now. Today is a review that's been very long destined. Transformers Studio Series 86 Leader Class Grimlock, aka my dad, aka Papa the Gremlin, aka Gary on steroids, aka, well, you get the gist. My profile picture and my little YouTube persona has always been Action Master Grimlock right from the start, and it's kind of amazing that it took me this long to get around to the biggest and baddest toy of this beloved character of mine. But the delayed nature of this review is not without reason. We'll get into it later, oh boy we'll get into it. First, a little rundown history lesson. Actually, first, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We love to do that around these parts. That's your weekly Cowboy Gary cameo. Don't say I don't listen. I know what the people want. Actual history lesson though, I love Grimlock. He's so cool. I've always loved Transformers. Been watching the cartoon, reading the comics, and playing with the toys since I was a wee little Gary. And Big Grim here was always the Transformers equivalent to the Incredible Hulk. Just a big, mean, angry, sulking, dumb brute who truly was the most powerful guy around. He was also one of my favorites because, quite obviously, he turns into a dinosaur. Now, for reference, most people are likely more familiar with the Sunbow cartoon Grimlock. The lovable doofus Grimlock, you know, the one who was almost like the big dog of the Autobots. He was sometimes a little violent, but generally just as silly and clumsy as the rest of the G1 Autobots, who were already a very silly and clumsy lot. My favorite Grimlock, and the one I always liked more, was the Marvel Comics Grimlock. This Grimlock was just that. Very grim. All dark and brooding and serious and none of that caveman talk, more a serious, gruff war veteran who didn't know a life without fighting. There's actually even a redeco of Studio Series 86 Grimlock to better match those colors. This version of Grimlock was just such a badass. Much less of a Hulk character and more of, well, more like the original Incredible Hulk, who also wasn't that dumb and also spoke in full sentences. Isn't that funny? Both versions of Grimlock are ripoffs of the Hulk. One is a ripoff of the cartoon Hulk, who was dumb and silly, and one is a ripoff of the comic Hulk, who was thoughtful and angsty. Besides that, for a toy history lesson, let me spell out for you the Grimlock toy scene as it came before this toy's introduction. For years, the only Grimlock options to fill your collection's favorite Dinobot slot was kind of a sorry lot. Didn't mean for that to rhyme, but, well, you know, it's true. There was the Classics one, which, while not bad per se, was a different flavor of Grimlock. That alt mode was much more Raptor-like and almost designed with like a Beast Wars sensibility, all asymmetrical and everything. Definitely a fun toy and a fun redesign, but not really gonna do it for needing a big, hefty Grimlock. Then there was the Power of the Primes Grimlock. Only a Voyager class, he was shorter than any self-respecting Prime or Megatron, and hampered by the combining gimmick, which was the fashion of the time. Then pretty much, beyond all the really ugly movie versions, your only other option for the king of your Autobots was the Masterpiece version. Again, like Classics, but unlike Power of the Primes, it was not a bad toy. In fact, for a long time, the Masterpiece's main problem was that it was too good, and you weren't going to find it on eBay for less than a hefty chunk of change. But it's also proportioned very lanky, and in my opinion, the weird gimmicks kind of weigh it all down. Sure, there were the third-party options, but some of those get into like triple-digit numbers, and again, I'm trying to avoid something that makes me go bankrupt. This brings us to near present day in our history lesson to 2018.
Do you know the way?
When Hasbro announced the Transformers Studio Series line. This line aimed to create the most screen-accurate versions of the characters possible, with a heavy emphasis on scale. One of the first leader classes in the line was Age of Extinction Grimlock, so it seemed only fitting that for the 35th anniversary of the 86 movie in 2021, Hasbro would once again bring G1 Grimlock back, to be the first leader class in the new subline, Studio Series 86. Give a big hello to everyone's favorite giant metal T-Rex, Studio Series 8606 Grimlock. This is a towering figure and I really do love it, mainly for that presence. He came in this big old box that I actually still have back at my parents' house, but I wasn't about to go drive a couple hours to go get that for just this review. He also came with the included little wheelie figure, but I really hate it, and it was definitely not worth going back a couple hours to go find. This video has been like a whole history lesson, man. I feel like I'm explaining everything. I just know that so many of my subscribers are dinosaur fans and might not know these relatively niche Transformers things, so I want to explain them all. Here goes. Inside the Transformers collecting scene, there is little less hotly debated than size classes. If you didn't know, Transformers come in some easily packaged size classes. This has been an established thing since the 90s, though the names have changed around a lot. As of now, you've got the $12 core class, $25 deluxe class, $35 Voyager class, $55 leader class, and then the really big ones, $90 Commander class and $150 Titan. That's all US prices, of course. I am from Hamburger Land. The thing is, these used to be the size classes. Buy a toy in Voyager, and it's going to be roughly 6 inches tall. Buy a toy in Leader, it's going to be roughly 9 inches tall. That was what was expected, and that's what Transformers fans remember looking back on it. But then, Hasbro started changing how they do things. Classes became less of a size class and more of a price point. Chief example, Studio Series 86 Hot Rod. Let's burn rubber. This guy debuted in the wave along with Grimlock, and he is a lovely toy and one that probably deserves his own review. And here he is compared with some fellow toys, Deluxe Class Wheeljack and Voyager Class Bumblebee Movie Shockwave. With all the information I've just given you, a good guess for Rod's size class would be Deluxe, right? He's roughly the same height as Wheeljack, and he's obviously a lot smaller than Shockwave. However, as you could certainly guess from my very excited tone of voice, he is not. He's a Voyager class. This is due in small part to all the added accessories he came with, but more because of the much higher parts count. Though Hot Rod may be the same size as Wheeljack, there's a lot more than meets the eye here. See what I did there? Rod is just a really complex toy. He's got Voyager level parts and engineering all packed into a deluxe class toy frame. I mean, he's got opening hands, a flip down visor, all these cool things that a deluxe could never afford in its budget. And this has been the deal with leader classes for a while now. For a long time, really since like 2017, leader classes were never big anymore. They were just really complex Voyagers. It makes sense, and many of those leaders are great figures, but it got a little boring. That's when Studio Series 86 Grimlock hit the scene, bringing back the full leader class power, rocking up with big dino energy. I don't know, this guy just felt like such a paradigm shift, such a massive change. The fact that he was a giant leader, and that it was finally a Grimlock toy taller than Optimus Prime, and that there was no gimmick, no nothing, just straight G1 Grimlock. I think that's why this figure is so important to me. That really big, hefty size, which is 8 1/3 inches tall by the way, is also equally matched by his level of detail. It's off the charts here. I always adore the ways the Hasbro design team manages to add mechanical rivets and panels and such that always look like they serve a purpose. It doesn't just all look like guff and greebling, it looks like seams that would separate and shift as he flexes and moves and transforms. Those G1 Sunbow cartoon models are notoriously simple. I mean, they have to be animated regularly. But this toy captures what cartoon Grimlock looked like to me in my childhood imagination. This isn't too much detail, this isn't too much greebling, this is what Grimlock looked like in my childhood brain. Now, very big at the time in the War for Cybertron trilogy and in Studio Series was the 5mm port system, which allows you to bang blast effects or random artillery anywhere there's one of these holes. Those early waves of Studio Series 86 all included these everywhere, and I'm a little glad to see they've mostly phased them out for the later toys. Figures on down the line like Optimus and Ratchet don't really have them anywhere, and yeah, I'm kind of fine with that. They're not a terrible eyesore, especially here on Grimlock where they've been integrated rather seamlessly, but sometimes, like look here on Cosmo's arm, yeah, they can be really obvious and just completely break the shaping. Paint-wise, he's honestly very basic, but he's got more than enough to convey Grimlock's design. I guess it's just a bonus of those super simple G1 designs that they're usually really basic color-wise and don't need a ton of paint detailing. Now earlier, I talked at length about Marvel Comics' Grim, and one of his most defining features different from the cartoon version was that he had a red visor instead of the cartoon's blue one. Again, I always liked that. It made him feel so much more meaner and dangerous. You may have noticed that this toy has got the red optics, and you may have been like, oh, that's such a cool nod to the Marvel Comics version. Well, you're wrong. Taking this screw out of the back of his head and prying his face apart allows you to disassemble it. And sliding a thin little piece of red wrapper in there, like this Biscoff one, and closing it back up gives you that great red-eyed look. Anyways, so that's why his eyes will randomly change colors throughout the rest of this review. Okay, deal with it. I actually really love the paint used for the eyes. The deep and metallic shade of blue is gorgeous, but I also like the red more. It's great to have options, even if they were unintentional options, but it's still options nonetheless, hey. I love the big silly color blocks on his shins. They're just so retro looking. It's classic. Now, you can barely see it through this black plastic, but he does have a giant lovely painted Autobot symbol on his chest. A lot of people have their panties up in a twist about this, complaining that it's too dark and doesn't look right. Me, my panties are fine. I like this black look more. It's a nice way to break up the giant gold chest. Almost like the bat symbol from the current Absolute Batman run. Anybody else here reading that? Anyways, this big black chest block is almost like a metaphor for the character of Grimlock. At heart, deep down, he's still one of the good guys. Even if it's really murky and hard to see because it's clouded by his dark, tough exterior. Listen, I'm feeling poetic today. I really love they opted to paint all the gold on him instead of casting it in a metallic yellow. That was such a good move since it looks so shiny and nice. Where I start to have my issues with this guy is articulation. I don't know. I think it's all in the arms. Something about where the shoulder hinges and then where the elbow hinges makes it look so awkward. He's got that horrible hanging elbow thing. When you bend it, it leaves a giant ugly gap. His ankles have a great range of motion, and moving them all the way reveals this little gap filler extension piece, which is such a smart solution to this problem. Why they didn't also include one in his elbow is a little confusing, as it makes the posing awkward. And yes, I said the word, it's time. Cue the Gary the Gremlin posing music. The head is on a ball joint, and the neck is on a flap that can hinge for transformation, so it allows a better range for looking down and up. The shoulders go out at that aforementioned strange angle, and they rotate all the way around. Bicep swivel, strange elbow again, but at least it bends past 90 degrees, and then wrist articulation. Sadly, no opening fingers, and this gap right here is really ugly. The wings on the back rotate up and down, and they hinge back and forth. This is great for getting them out of the way for dynamic poses, but they're super loose and really annoying while trying to handle him. Ditto for these thigh joints, which have an excellent range of motion forwards and backwards and out to the side, but are really loose. They used to be ratchet joints, and I'm honestly amazed at how much they've worn down. I don't understand it. I've never treated this figure roughly and never ever done anything like stop motion with him. I have no clue as to how they got so worn down and so loose without that much use. There's a thigh swivel, which is nice and tight, no problems there, but then randomly, the left knee is super loose and the right one is just fine. No clue, gang. There's that insane ankle rocker that I mentioned earlier, and then this flap that can move because of the transformation, but doubles as an ankle stabilizer. One final one, this waist swivel, which can go all the way around. Overall, it's an impressive range of motion, but those loose joints really bring it down. If anyone else in the comments has similar problems with their copy, let me know. This is a copy that has been posed, but always gently, and he's mostly just stood on display on my shelf for as long as I've had him. Just a good shake shows how bad this situation is. This is really the only negative this toy has for me. The arm gaps and the awkward arms are nitpicks, but this looseness is almost a death sentence because it means he's no fun to pick up and play with. I did mention earlier the box and accessories, and one really cool one he comes with is this giant twin-barreled blaster. With some effects parts, this looks really sweet. It easily plugs into his hand using the port system and can therefore plug into anywhere else using the same method. Well, anywhere except his butthole, that's too small. That butthole is actually there as a port for a flight stand, which would be cool to see if I had one sturdy enough to hold this fella up. He is a really good hefty weight. Like I originally said, he also came with that little wheelie figure, but I don't have it with me, and that figure is garbage anyways. I don't want to talk about it. Let's keep going. Instead, here he is with the much improved Studio Series Core Class wheelie. I actually hate this wheelie too though, so get that out of here. We're gonna run through size comparisons real fast. I've got a lot to get through. Here he is with Studio Series 86 Optimus Prime, and they look really great together. I think this was a great scale to stick to. Here's Studio Series Ultra Magnus, and I love this scale. They're almost the same height. Magnus is just like half a head taller, which feels right. Here's a random assortment of other 86 and Generations Autobots and Decepticons. Here's the only other Studio Series Dinobot I've got right now, my best buddy, Snart. And to round it out, Pretender, Popcorn Bucket, and Action Master Grimlock. I think the scale of this Grimlock really is his most defining thing, and I love it. He fits in so well with the other figures, towering over your little mini-bots, and just a bit shorter than guys like Jetfire and Magnus. That's not the only size comparison you're going to get this video, however, so let's get him transformed up and ready for round 2. Starting the transformation with the legs is not a bad way to go, so that's what we're going to do. Take those feet bottoms and fold them up like so. That floppiness is going to be really annoying here, so I'm going to try to hold my tongue, but just flop all that stuff out of the way as you're doing it and take your time. Open up the back of the legs like so, and extend out these genius hidden tail tips. I love this part. Next, you're going to gently untab these black struts from the leg housing and ease it on over to the left side of the strut it's on. This brings the legs closer together. For this step, first move the dino head up and out of the way, and then, without bending the robot knee joint at all, bend in these legs onto the back, and then close up the tail on the front. Then, easy enough, push those halves together. If he's looking like a mermaid right now, you're doing something right. Next, you'll want to grab his big old boobies and pull them away from his chest. Peeking inside, you can see some really cool details that aren't visible in either robot or alt mode, just while converting him. That's so cool, and I love that attention to detail. Tab in the robot chest to these gray tabs and it'll click in tight, securing everything. Push the head in down and flip the T-Rex head all the way over. Then bring the wings in to tab together and create that dino chest. Fold in those fists and position those arms however you want, and boom! It's a dinosaur. Well, maybe, but this doesn't look like any dinosaur I know. I suppose this is a T-Rex? One with 3 fingers, that is. I get the Transformers fans are rolling their eyes so hard now, but this is a very dinosaur-focused channel, and I kind of have to do the dinosaur thing, okay? This looks nothing like a T-Rex, let alone a dinosaur. It's more like a kangaroo or something strange. It's beyond the point, however, because this is much less a T-Rex and much more a Grimlock. I'll let the vague 1940s reconstruction of a T-Rex pass because it's so cute. This is a Grimlock and I love it. I also really love that transformation. It's an excellent one. It might be a bit simple for a leader class, but it's really fun and involved. Some transformations are really just kind of balling the robot mode up and then surrounding it with the kibble, and those aren't as fun. This is an example of an engaging transformation where the robot mode is actually reshaped into the alt. A tidbit on those legs, since I know I'll get comments. The instructions' official way to do them is to untab this part and then tab this one in fully and have them stand like this. I don't like that because obviously it looks stupid and it looks like he's sitting on his big fat ass. So I partially mistransform it to make it look more bird-like. Sue me. I love these little circles on his neck as well as these rivets down the snout. Those eyes are still blue only because I haven't found a way yet to pry his head open and turn them red. The blaster from earlier can come back and clip around these tubes running the length of his back, and since I find that a little awkward, I tend not to do it. A little perplexing is the missing front teeth. Did the inclusion of front teeth really make that much of a difference in the safety regulations that they needed to be neutered and removed? I don't know, I think it's just silly. The teeth on the side of his mouth weren't sharp enough to, like, violate, safety regulations, but apparently teeth in the very front were? Okay, sure. There's a really neat little port in here, however, which allows you to put a blast effect in there as well, which looks really great for display. This is a dinosaur I'm okay with breathing fire. Take notes, Giganotosaurus. As for articulation in this new form, the jaw can open nice and wide, the head hinges at the base, and the neck swivels all around. The shoulder is on a ball joint and the elbows hinge. The legs have the exact same articulation as the arms, plus these toes which can hinge, and that's about it. There's a noticeable drop-off in articulation points, but that's expected when going to an alt mode like this one. As for that last size comparison, here he is with Prime, Ultra Magnus, some more guys again, Snart, here's the Hammond Collection T-Rex, this is the Buck variant by the way, and back again for their second cameo, Pretender, Popcorn Bucket, and Action Master Grimlock. Side note, did you know that I completely filmed a review of all 4 of these toys before? It was an 1,000 subscriber special that never got edited because we had already hit 5,000 by the time I finished filming it. It's still sitting in my DaVinci Resolve studio waiting to be edited. Maybe I'll finish it someday and put it up for channel members. Now, a sad story has been how hard this toy is to find. But he was for a while there asking some ridiculous eBay prices. For a long time, $200 was a good deal to buy this toy, which is insanity. But then, Hasbro re-released him. God, I love Hasbro. They are king at listening to fans, understanding what toys are hard to get, and combating those horrible scalpers and resellers by re-releasing those said toys. They did it with Cosmos, they did it with Soundwave, and they did it with Grimlock. Hasbro wants you to buy their toys and they want to make sure you can, so sure, they'll just flood the market with them. That's sort of why I wanted to make this review. If you want this toy, you can go order it right now. All the usual places you buy action figures will have him on pre-order, and he's no longer going to be as sought after. With that, I can fully give this guy my Gary the Gremlin seal of approval and recommend you add him to your collection. Just be careful on them joints, okay? I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I know it's been a long time since I made a Transformers review, which is silly since that's what my profile picture is. I guess the next goal would be to review some Gremlins toys, since that's what my name's also referring to. If this video does well, then I'll know you guys want to see some more Transformers reviews, and I'll be sure to follow up with some more. Comment below if there's any specific ones you want to see. I've got a lot of them, obviously, though I really cannot wait for the new Studio Series 86 Megatron. He will definitely be getting a review, as he's one of my most anticipated figures from this year. Alright, that's it for today. Again, thank you so much for watching. Gary the Gremlin, out.